There's nothing but pure love when you're working with Habitat. You know, they didn't look at me like a homeless person. They really looked at me for who I was. When I started getting people behind me, that I could see there's people that care for me, that love me. That makes you want to strive to do better every day.
My mom had 4 of us, and it was really hard for her. We would have places to stay for short periods of time, but it didn't last long because it was 5 of us. And my mom was just always determined to keep us together. This is hard.
I'm a veteran of the war in Iraq. I served in the military from 2001 to 2006. I am a combat soldier, having served during the invasion and just after the invasion. I'm a single dad, so my daughter's 4 years old and she needed to be in a preschool. And we stumbled on a place called East Durham Children's Initiative. Through East Durham Children's Initiative, we got linked up with the LEAP Academy. And through the LEAP Academy, we got linked up with Habitat.
I was always looking, thinking how I'm gonna be able to buy a house, with my income. I was like, it was not possible.
For such a long time, I tried to buy a home on my own, and I was, for this reason or that reason, I couldn't. And I felt like I was trapped in a house that was unsafe, unfit for me and my family. Anytime it rains, the water would run directly into the back door, into 2 of the bedrooms. I now have to take an antibiotic every other day because of the mold and mildew in the house. I can't stop smiling because now I'm out of that situation, and I'm gonna move into my own.
Part of our application asks, why do you want a Habitat house? 95% of our families will write, so my children can have a yard to play in. And I don't have to worry about them being left alone outside. You know, we have families that come through our door with 5 children, but they're living in a 2-bedroom apartment because that's what they can afford.
If you're renting an old house that's very inefficient, you can barely afford to heat and cool it.
I pay nearly the amount of cost in rent in utilities.
I have had electric bills $700 or $800.
The tightness of the house, the ability to heat and cool it for $1 a day. I mean, that's amazing. That is transforming for someone's budget.
When you look at the course of a lifetime, I will be able to drastically change our lifestyle. I went ahead actually during this build process and opened my daughter her own savings account for college.
A lot of our families, they're surprised whenever I tell them, I know what you're going through. I bought my Habitat home in 1997. At the time, Jay was 1. I was almost 2 years out of high school. And before I was 20, I became a homeowner.
From one end of the street to the other, there's a big difference. When we first moved here, we dealt with a lot of drug addiction, drug sellers, a lot of prostitution.
There used to be people standing outside on the road doing other things that they shouldn't be doing.
If you would ask anybody, Spruce Street was one of the worst streets in Durham. The Habitat is really changing the entire dynamic of Spruce Street.
After all these Habitat houses started being built up around here, there's more people that I know in the neighborhood. I started to get to know my neighbors, and I'm like, okay, I like these people.
The worn or torn down houses are not there anymore for bad activities to take place.
It's transformational for the neighborhood. And what you'll see is that the Habitat homes actually lift up the homes and the neighborhood around them.
In 2 years, we've gone from several drive-by shootings to you don't even see drug dealers on the street anymore. you know, and I know that that has a lot to do with Habitat and the fact that people own, and so they are much more protective of the property and of the neighborhood.
Here where we are, we've never had any trouble at all.
We come together and we know that we've, struggled like as a whole, and when you come together and you have this safe space, and it's just like a feeling of family.
I used to pray that I would be able to get off of Spruce Street. And so now it's funny because I don't want to leave Spruce Street, you know. I see life, I see possibility.
Not too long ago, I had an opportunity to work with Habitat on an interfaith build. I hate to admit it, but I questioned myself about going to the interfaith build that day. PTSD does a lot of crazy things to a person. I think for every person it's a little different. There's a lot of different therapies out there that I've been through for this. That interfaith build provided a lot more for me that day than the VA Medical Center ever could have. I got to meet some great Muslim people. I got to learn about their faith and work side by side with them, and they worked side by side with me. They knew my story and I heard their story. And I went home that day not feeling defeated as I anticipated, but feeling happy and uplifted about the day, and really proud of myself for having took a step in the right direction.
You can have a shelter, you can have a place to stay, but your home is going to be in your heart. And that's why this shelter, this place has become my home, because my mom comes here, my brother comes here, my sisters come here, their families. This is our home.
For us, it was very important to do something in our hometown.
The money is the least of the gifts that we give and receive in this process. You know, I get to see their gifts, the gifts they're giving us back.
The most rewarding thing for me is to look at these families and to see the joy, the absolute joy on their faces, the pride that they have, because they've put in, hundreds of hours.
January was crisp cold, freezing, hands numb, feet numb, but just to know in the end that this was going to be my house was my push to keep going forward for my kids.
Toting lumber, sawing, lifting, climbing ladders, nailing. You're so engulfed with the love and compassion, you forget you're working hard.
I've been working 15 days straight. Today is my first day off. So I said, okay, let me go and work on my house, get ready to move in. It's exciting. I'm just so excited. I'm ready to move in.
You know, you learn like the worth of a house, how hard you had to work to build a house.
Juliet's really excited about just having a home that she can call her own, and be a part of a neighborhood that we don't necessarily think that we're going to have to find a new place at the end of our lease.
I don't have to worry about any rent, ready to move the next year. I don't never have to move again. This is mine.
This meant like everything to me.
This is my home, and it's really special to know that people put a lot of work in making something that is yours.
What it has done is allow me to have big dreams for my being.
As of yesterday at 12:30, I have done 251 hours. I did one extra just for the heck of it.
This is where we have grown together in love. This is where we have raised our children. This is where we have had so many successes in our life.